McDonald's is not a restaurant company.
You have probably heard this before. The actual business of McDonald's is not the burger. It is the land, the locations, the real estate empire sitting underneath every golden arch on the planet. FIFA operates exactly the same way. FIFA is not a football organization. It is a global event machine that uses football as the product and host cities as the platform. And this summer, 4 Toronto neighborhoods are being handed over to the most commercially powerful sports organization on Earth. Fort York, Phillips Square, Liberty Village, Scarborough. FIFA is projected to earn over $11 billion from the 2026 World Cup. $11 billion. The host cities provide the land, the infrastructure, and the public spaces. FIFA takes the money. That is not a conspiracy theory. It is the documented structure of every World Cup hosting agreement ever signed. So before we go to the neighborhoods, we need to answer one question. When the banners come down and FIFA gets on the plane to the next host city, what does Toronto actually get to keep? And which Torontonians are actually getting a fair deal here?
Most people do not know what a FIFA fan zone actually is, and that lack of knowledge is exactly how FIFA prefers it. A fan zone is not a party the city throws for its residents. It is a FIFA-licensed commercial operation. FIFA designates official fan zones in host cities and grants exclusive commercial rights to those spaces for the duration of the tournament. Merchandise, food and beverage, sponsor activations, live screenings, all of it operated under FIFA's commercial framework. The sponsors who paid FIFA hundreds of millions to be associated with the World Cup get their brand plastered across these spaces. The food and drink sold inside are often FIFA-approved brands. The merchandise is official and priced accordingly. And the land on which all of this happens? Provided by the host city, by taxpayers, without a direct revenue share flowing back to the municipality. FIFA makes $11 billion. The host city provides the land. You are not a partner. You are a venue, a platform, a backdrop. Now let's go to the 4 neighborhoods, because each one shows you a different face of exactly what we just described. This is the headline location. The official FIFA Fan Festival runs from June 11th to July 19th at Fort York National Historic Site and the Bentway, a public arts and culture space built under the Gardner Expressway just west of downtown. Free to attend, live match screenings, cultural programming, food, music, and space where the city comes together around the tournament. On paper, this is exactly what a fan festival should be. Fort York is a historically significant site, the location of the Battle of York during the War of 1812. Using it as the anchor for Toronto's World Cup fan experience is a genuine statement about this city's identity. And some of that is real. The ambition is real. The scale is genuinely impressive. But here's what that gift actually costs. Fort York and the Bentway during the Fan Festival are not public spaces in the way they normally are. They are FIFA-operated commercial zones. The regular programming, the community events, the public markets, the art installations that make the Bentway what it is on a normal Tuesday. Those do not happen for 22 days. And for residents of the Fort York neighborhood and Liberty Village directly adjacent, Fort York Boulevard is converted to pedestrian-only access for the full 22 days of the Fan Festival, not just on the 6 match days. Every single day the Fan Festival is operational. The city says it will issue local access permits so residents can still get in and out, which is good. It also means residents need a permit to access their own neighborhood during a FIFA event. The community gets the global exposure. FIFA gets the revenue. The residents get a permit. Phillips Square is not just a public plaza, it is the civic heart of Toronto. The space in front of City Hall, where this city has gathered for decades for protests, celebrations, and the simple act of being together in a shared urban space. It is where Mayor Olivia Chow unveiled the official World Cup countdown clock in June 2025, surrounded by youth soccer players from across the city. That moment was real. The energy was real. The diversity of those kids on that stage represented something genuine about what Toronto actually is. And that is exactly why what happens to Nathan Phillips Square during the tournament deserves scrutiny. Because Nathan Phillips Square during the World Cup is not just a backdrop. It is the most photographed, most recognizable, most symbolically loaded public space in the city. And during the tournament window, it becomes a globally distributed image of Toronto, reproduced in broadcast packages, social media content, and promotional materials for FIFA's commercial partners. FIFA and its sponsors benefit commercially from that image. The city provided the space. The public who gave Nathan Phillips Square its meaning and its cultural weight over decades get to watch it on TV. That trade is not neutral, and it is worth asking whether a more explicit revenue-sharing arrangement should have been part of the deal. In February 2026, Liberty Village residents showed up to a community planning session to ask practical questions about road closures and transit access. The city gave them a local access permit and told them to be patient. Those residents were not hostile to the World Cup. They were excited about it. And they were asking the questions you ask when you live somewhere and want to understand what 6 weeks of global event operations actually means for the street you walk every morning. Here is why their questions matter more than most. Liberty Village is where Toronto's football community actually lives. Not just geographically, though the neighborhood sits less than a kilometer from Toronto Stadium. Culturally, the supporters groups, the five-a-side leagues, the football bars, the communities of people who built Toronto's soccer culture from the ground up over decades, a significant part of that energy is centered here. And that culture was not created by FIFA. It was not created by the World Cup. It was not created by the City of Toronto's event planning team. It was created by people who showed up week after week, year after year, and built something real before any of this was coming. The question the fan zone designation raises is not whether Liberty Village deserves to be part of this story. It does. More than almost anywhere else in the city. The question is whether the World Cup amplifies what already exists here, brings a global audience to a genuinely authentic football community, and leaves it stronger. Or whether it overlays a corporate FIFA aesthetic over something that was valuable precisely because it was not corporate. A local access permit is not an answer to that question. This is the location that gets the least attention in the official World Cup communications. And it might be the most important one. Toronto's football culture was not built downtown. It was built in Scarborough community centers, in Portuguese social clubs, in Somali youth leagues, in the amateur pitches and parks across the East End, by communities who loved this sport before Toronto FC existed, before BMO Field existed, before the World Cup was coming anywhere near this city. Including Scarborough in the fan zone geography sends a specific signal. It says, this tournament is for you too. And that signal matters enormously. But acknowledgement and investment are different things. A community programming event in Scarborough that receives a fraction of the resources, the sponsorship activation, and the infrastructure investment of Fort York or Nathan Phillips Square tells a different story than the inclusive language in the press releases suggests. If the Scarborough programming is genuine, if it brings the same quality of World Cup experience to East Toronto communities that built Canadian football for generations, it could be the most meaningful part of this entire host city operation. If it is a checkbox, a line item that lets the city say it went east without actually committing to the east, the community will know. And they will say so. 4 neighborhoods: Fort York, Phillips Square, Liberty Village, Scarborough. Each one a different version of the same question. Is Toronto hosting the World Cup? Or is the World Cup using Toronto? The global exposure is real. The fan zone model is designed to extract maximum value from host communities while leaving minimum behind. And in a city with Toronto's specific pressures, the housing crisis, the transit underfunding, the inequality between neighborhoods, that extraction matters. The residents of Liberty Village carrying permits to walk their own street deserve a real answer. The families in Scarborough who built Canadian football culture in parks and community centers while the rest of the city was not paying attention deserve a real answer. The renter watching their neighborhood become a FIFA commercial zone while their landlord watches the market appreciate deserves a real answer. The World Cup press releases are not that answer. Which fan zone are you going to? And do you think the communities hosting this tournament are actually getting a fair deal? Drop it in the comments.